Okay, everybody, welcome to tonight's webinar. We're excited to have Alex Gardner with us. Um, the topic tonight is, identity protection. We call it asset protecting your identity, and we really feel like this is something that's extremely important because clearly asset protection. If you don't protect your identity, what do you have? So asset protection deals with everything else, but also including your identity. Well, you can't really sign your documents, LLCs, corporations, trusts. You can't really do that if someone's compromised your identity. So frankly, we feel like it starts with your identity. And Alex clearly is an expert in this area, and I'll introduce Alex here in a moment. Let's go ahead and go through a few different items before we get started. Wanted to mention our 3-day asset protection summit coming up in Las Vegas, Nevada. Now, this is one of our bigger events of the year at the Green Valley Ranch. So that's November 11th, 12th, and 13th. We already have a very strong registration for this. So if you're looking to do that, suggest you book sooner than later. It could possibly be that we may have to limit registrations on this one. It's actually pretty strong. So if you do want to book, this is at the Green Valley Ranch. You see a picture of it there. It's beautiful. Honestly, one of my favorite resorts in Las Vegas. It's just about 15 minutes from, the airport, and it's 15 minutes from the Strip, kind of out tucked away. It's got a nice shopping mall and restaurants tied to it. The group rate is a great rate. I apologize, I forget the rate actually, but it does expire on October 21st, and it is significantly lower than what you'll find online. So if you want to do that, book before October 21st. Otherwise, it will be prevailing rates. The other event we have coming up, kind of contingent with that, is the Airbnb and mobile home secrets with Aaron Adams. Now, if you know Aaron Adams, if you had a chance to meet him in Indianapolis at one of our other events, he is phenomenal. He really does know what he's doing. He's sold and flipped and done literally over 5,000 properties all across the country. He literally is the expert and can help you understand really very well because he does it, frankly. So that will be an event going on conclusive at the same time with our Asset Protection Summits, November 12th and 13th. It's a great workshop you can make that. Love to have you. If you want to register for that, it's protectwealth.com/Aaron Live. It's a great course to look at. Also at the summit, if you haven't been, the one in Las Vegas, we have a lot of different instructors and speakers. We feel like, we really do feel like, and I think it's probably true, they really are the best in the country at doing what they do. Clint Coons, asset protection, Scott Estel, taxes, estate planning, stocks, real estate. So, a lot of different topics, a lot of different experts. We try to bring in the best of the best, honestly, to help you. If you want to register for that and see the agenda, go to protectwealth.com. And obviously, before we start this webinar tonight, the effect of a proper asset protection plan is about lowering your financial profile, reducing taxes, and discouraging lawsuits. It's not about secrecy, hiding assets, or dodging taxes. And we feel like that's kind of our motto, if you will. We feel like asset protection, identity theft go hand in hand, once again, and this is why we brought in Alex tonight. And Alex, I know you've got a few credentials there behind your name. I forgot to add those here, but you're a certified ID theft risk management specialist. And we've known Alex for a couple years now. He's a great speaker. He knows what he's talking about. And, with a lot of the different identity theft problems we've experienced recently, and I know you cover some of those, a lot of the breaches and everything happening around the country. This is actually more important than ever. And so we're excited to have Alex with us tonight. And I'll let you introduce yourself a little more, Alex, but I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you, mute myself, and then we'll go ahead and have some time for Q&A there at the end. Thanks for being with us, Alex.
Excellent. Thank you, Kendall, for that introduction. And it's always an honor to speak to the Protect Wealth community. And, Protect Wealth is the pinnacle of asset protection. Highly recommend all their events and programs. And like Kendall said, you are really your most valuable asset. So I think this really ties in squarely with with asset protection. And first, I just want to start out, and I am part of a group that's been researching identity theft for over 16 years. It's some of the most fascinating and horrifying stuff you'll ever read about and learn about. But of course, you don't want to be careless with your information. So just to start, I just want to go over just some good identity hygiene, some good best practices, and just so we're not being careless. And first of all, sending and receiving your mail in a secured mailbox. Okay, so if you have a red flag that you go and put your mail in, that's kind of a red flag, right? That's basically telling an identity thief that's driving around your neighborhood that there's probably some good information in that outgoing mail. So that's something to think about. Okay, shredding, some basic things. I don't think people are carrying around their Social Security cards in their wallets, hopefully not anymore, as well as anyone that you know that has those Medicare cards. I think they're going to be updating those here soon, but until those are updated, treat those like your Social Security card as well. Also, number 5, file your tax return as early as possible each year. This has become more important in recent years, because if somebody else files your taxes before you do, and they'll probably inflate that income, try to get a big return, and then they usually drop it on like a prepaid credit card and some big fat return in your name, and then they're really off to the races, right? There's no way for the government to get that money back, and it usually takes several months for someone to navigate through and get that ironed out and get that your return. So when you go to file it, if somebody else has already filed that year's return before you do, then it will reject the second one. Okay, so it's just good practice to file your return. So if you're like a lot of us that sometimes over the years have been filing extensions and things like that, if this is an extra reason to try to just bite the bullet and get that done early each year. Also, places that are asking for like your Social Security number and your driver's license number, most places don't need that. Okay, so just start questioning that. Maybe push back and ask some questions, or just see how bad they really need that. Like if you're at a medical office or somewhere like that. And a lot of times, if you push back a little bit, then they don't always need all that information. All right. Number 8, kind of an interesting experiment that I've gone through in recent years, is I've just been putting my first initial in last name, basically the minimum information that they need when you're like for your billing information, when you're buying things online. A lot of us are purchasing more and more things online these days, and it's kind of interesting because then sometimes I'll start getting mail with that I didn't request with the first initial and last name. So I know that somebody's selling that information, right? So it's just I think it's good practice. Some people even have a business name that they use. Just start to think about that. Just the least amount of your personal information that's ending up in databases, the better. Okay. Number 9, opting out of pre-approved credit card offers. If that's not anything you're interested in, I think it's also optoutprescreen.com is the online version of that, but that's something that some people are interested in. And one of the biggest reasons why is especially if you move, okay, you probably want to at least opt out to your old address, because it's by mailing address last I checked, because that's how my identity got stolen, is what I assume happened. After I moved, there was pre-approved offers sent to an old address, and then I don't know if somebody ended up just throwing those out or where they ended up, but then somebody ended up taking out 4 accounts in my name with those pre-approved offers. All right, number 10, get a protection program with full restoration to manage the rest of the risk of identity theft. So just want to go over some basic tips before we dive into this. All right. And then Kendall mentioned there's been, of course, breaches that continue to happen. Here's one this summer, 12 million people affected by, and this was the Quest Diagnostics medical lab company, one of the largest lab companies. And then another big one, LabCorp, the next day was part of that same breach, a medical information breach that happened just this summer. If you've ever been to a Quest Diagnostics or a LabCorp facility, you might be affected by that. Also, Capital One, a little later this summer, in the end of July, announced that over 100 million Americans were affected by that, and not even just their account holders, but even people that just submitted an application for an account at some point in the history may be affected by that breach as well. And Capital One, I think, has been buying a lot of other companies. So I've met numerous people that didn't have a Capital One account until recently, until they had acquired somebody, and so now they have one or more Capital One accounts. Okay, and of course Equifax. Okay, it's been several months now, but the threat hasn't gone away. Yeah, this is the biggest, hardest hitting breach in U.S. history. Most adult Americans in the United States were affected by this. Really, anyone with an established credit history was part of that breach. Of course, there's a lot of other small and mid-sized breaches that have happened along that time as well. But one thing I do want to point out about post-breach giveaway services. Okay, usually less than 5% of victims even take advantage of a free service offered after a breach. It's kind of a weird deal. It's like, hey, we just lost all your information. Why don't you come give even more, and we'll so we can protect it for you, right? But a post-breach giveaway service is never a comprehensive product. Okay, it's never managing the risk of what you'll see as an average of 600 business hours that a true victim of identity theft faces. So we never want to have like a false sense of security with a post-breach giveaway service. Okay, the next part of the training, we want to go through 3 most common misconceptions. Okay, so these are 3 things that we've found through our research that a lot of people think, and there's a good reason why. Okay, it's not your fault that if you think any of these 3 things, because there's a reason. I'll tell you. The first one is most people, when we say identity theft, they immediately think about their bank account and credit card accounts. And why is that? That's because financial institutions have been marketing to us for over a decade, constantly saying, "Hey, come bank with us, come do business with us, and use our put your money in our bank, or use our credit card because we have you covered for zero liability," right? And they kind of lump in fraud and identity theft, but really all that is for your existing accounts and for those unauthorized charges. So that's not even really identity theft, right? That's just an unauthorized charge. Usually financial institutions are on the hook for those anyway, and that's why a lot of times their systems are so robust that they are even catching a lot of that before it even goes through, right? Even some of the transactions we want to go through these days aren't, which is kind of an inconvenience, but we'd kind of rather have that than a bunch of fraud going through. So that's not the reason to have ID protection. I've had a few things that have, slipped through here and there. You catch it, you let your fraud department know in your bank or your credit card company, and I've never had a problem getting that put back in. So that's not the risk to manage. The real risk to manage is true identity theft, and it comes in 5 major forms. In the first form is new account fraud. So new lines of credit, new accounts that are open in your name. And the 3 fastest growing types of new account fraud are new utility accounts, new cell phone accounts, and new student loans that are taken using our Social Security number and opening up new accounts or lines of credit. Okay, but since that's only 15% of the problem anymore, 85% of identity theft, according to the most recent FTC report I've seen, only 15% is even detectable in a credit file anymore. And more of that of identity theft is moving into these other 4 types, because more people are monitoring their credit. A lot of places give free credit monitoring and things these days, and so they've really gone to these other areas, which still are very profitable in the black market, but are less likely to be detected. Okay, and one of them is fake IDs. Okay, there's a big demand for millions of people that are looking to buy a fake ID on the black market and have a clean American identity. And so once they have our Social Security number and our driver's license number, then there's millions of people that also are looking to buy an identity to be able to live and work a job in this country. All right, and once one or more people start working jobs under our Social Security number but not paying the taxes, that can get really complicated, right? First of all, it of course looks like we're underreporting our income because they're not paying the taxes on that additional income, and the tax bills will eventually come finding us, right, along with probably interest and fees and penalties and things added on there. And along with that, we've seen accounts frozen, we've seen state licenses, professional licenses suspended, and we've also seen when people start to try to get the fraud removed from their account, we've also seen Social Security benefits disappear. So sometimes the good stuff gets removed with when they're clearing out the bad stuff. So a lot of complications there. Medical, okay, if they have our health insurance information, of course they could use that. But what we see a lot more of is just using what they can get with our personal information, how many prescriptions and treatments and things that people are able to get just with our personal information. And of course, medical bills can come finding us, but more dangerous than that is actually our medical records can start to be polluted with their information. So different blood types and prescriptions and allergies and so on can start to be polluting our medical record. And the fifth and final type, and can be the most complicated to recover from, is called character criminal. And that happens when somebody uses that fake ID when they get pulled over or arrested, uses that fake ID with all our information with their picture, and then probably doesn't pay the fine or show up for court. And then we've met numerous people that have even been put in jail for 1 or more days until they can get that sorted out, right, as a mistaken identity and identity theft. And so those are the 5 types of real, true identity theft. And according to the Identity Theft Resource Center, a nonprofit out of San Diego, it takes an average of 600 business hours for a true victim to prove their innocence and get their records straightened out. So that's the real risk that we need to manage. Okay, major misconception 2 and 3 will go real fast. Number 2 is, a lot of us think, well, maybe if I'm careful, I'm smart, I'm conscientious, I do all the tips that I see on the local or national news or, in the media. I shred everything. I don't use my public Wi-Fi for my online banking, the basics. Maybe I can outsmart the ID thieves. Well, unfortunately, no matter how careful we are, other people are losing our information, right, on a regular basis. Both private companies as well as even some government agencies have had breaches. There are 3 main ways: human error, paying off insiders, and of course the biggest way we hear about is hacking. And so the third most common misconception is, maybe if I freeze my credit files, won't that block ID theft? Won't that take care of it? Couldn't be further from the truth, okay? Credit services don't equal true identity theft protection whatsoever. Just to break it down, credit scores don't prevent or restore any of the 5 types. Credit reports don't prevent or restore any of the 5 types. Credit monitoring is extremely limited. Currently, last I've seen, can only detect about 15% of identity theft. So whether it's something that shows up in some kind of a monitoring alert or otherwise, the biggest question is right, who are you going to call, right? Who's going to prove your innocence and help you get your records straightened out is really the big question. And so that being said, as an informed consumer going into the marketplace, the 3 key components to an identity theft solution to manage that risk. Number 1, you want to make sure you have direct access to the right people. For identity theft and fraud, those are licensed fraud investigators. And coupled to that, hand in glove, you want to make sure you have a limited power of attorney benefit in there. Because if you know anything about dealing with third-party companies or government agencies, they're going to need to see legal signed permission for someone else to be calling during business hours on your behalf to get access to, let alone correct any records on your behalf. So number 1 and 2 can effectively manage that risk of the 600 hours. Then once that's in place, it's nice to have some proactive monitoring. Okay, what you'll see in the marketplace is really most products out there are based on just basically on number 3, right? They'll talk all about the monitoring they do, almost acting like they can prevent identity theft through monitoring, which of course is not true. And then kind of glossing over what's actually going to happen if you do need help, right? And not any talk about in-house licensed investigators, limited power of attorney, which you really need for that restoration. So you'll see the biggest difference between the one solution we found out there and any other product in the marketplace is, even if the members don't activate their monitoring benefits, which we recommend they do, they're still covered, right, for that 600 hours, which is the biggest risk to manage. Okay, so next let's go through a handful of products in the marketplace. Let's see how many of these 3 vital components they actually have. Okay, the first one, you may have seen advertising in recent years, a startup marketing company. You also may have heard that the FTC actually came after them 2 times within a 5-year period. This last time for the largest settlement in FTC history for $100 million for the same 2 things: still not telling the truth in their advertising, as well as ironically not protecting their own customers' information. They actually just had their second breach of their own customers' information since then. And there's a wide variety of other products that will offer some credit and or internet monitoring services. But again, the biggest question is whether something you learn about that might be happening shows up in a monitoring alert or otherwise, is who you're going to call, right? Who's going to prove your innocence and get your record straightened out? So after over 16 solid years of immersing ourselves in the identity theft epidemics, since this solution has been created, there's still no other program with real substance we found that can do anywhere near for the community that the ID Shield can do an extremely competitive rate. Okay, in fact, the day after the Equifax breach, Mr. Morgan Wright, one of the top security experts in the United States, top cybersecurity experts, was being interviewed on CNBC, and he admitted that he has the ID Shield because if anything happens, they have actual licensed investigators who will do the restoration for you. Okay, and the ID Shield actually has just added in 18 new features that I'm excited to share with you today. And there's also a new mobile app called ID Shield Plus. Okay, and so this is something that if you're like a current member of ID Shield, okay, this is an upgraded platform that can handle all these new features. So we can tell you how, if you haven't already activated on the Plus network, we can get you activated there. But let me go through these the benefits in some detail. Okay, first of all, some basic benefits. Okay, some daily credit file monitoring, so on. But a new benefit they've added in is instant hard inquiry alerts. Okay, and why would that be valuable? Well, if somebody's trying to open a new account, such as a utility account, a bank account, a credit card account, as well as a variety of different loans like an auto, home, or student loan, and it's reported to the credit bureau, then you can get that instant alert to know that somebody's trying to do that. Okay. Also, public records. They really expanded this into an industry-leading 78 billion different files and records that they're continuously monitoring, including several professional licensed databases and so on. Also, telecom. Okay, and why have they added this? Well, really twofold. I think you may have heard earlier when I said one of the three fastest-growing new account frauds is our new cell phone accounts. Okay. Also, there's a growing tactic from fraud rings to actually divert people's cell phone service and actually hijack and take over your account. Okay, and how they do that is if they have enough information after a data breach, and they can get past the security information, say calling into that wireless service, then they can get access to that account. They can change passwords, PIN numbers, and actually port that service to a device of their choice. Okay, so they've added that in for monitoring as well. Also, criminal and court records monitoring. Again, it's a lot nicer to have a chance to be notified if somebody else has done something, maybe in a fake ID in your name, proactively, and contacting the licensed investigators to get that resolved proactively, rather than being blindsided by routine traffic stop and possibly thrown in jail for one or more days before getting that straightened out. Okay. Also, they've added in username and login credentials monitoring. Okay, so in addition to, we'll talk about in a minute, email account monitoring. Also, not every login around the internet is your email address, right? Sometimes there's certain where you have to create a login. So if there's certain login names that you tend to use around the internet, you can now insert those and be notified if any of those accounts are ever up for sale on the dark or deep web as well. Another benefit they've added is high-risk application and transaction monitoring. Okay, and this is a system that they can monitor that they may detect earlier than some places even report to a credit bureau. Okay, so that can be sometimes up to 90 days earlier than traditional credit monitoring services. And exclusive to ID Shield is the ability to electronically send a message back to the issuing organization if the activity is not you, that it's fraud, right? To not issue that account or process that application. So they're monitoring hundreds of billions of data points for new applications such as new checking, savings, or brokerage accounts, wireless and utility accounts, credit card applications, auto and home loans, check reorders, money transfers, online W-2 access, online prescriptions, credit line increases, and retail charge accounts are among what they're monitoring for with this benefit. Okay. Also, they've added in subprime loan monitoring. This includes rent-to-own, title pawn, and subprime applications. Also, quick cash, payday loan monitoring. These are those high interest, high fee payday loan operations, and I guess you can even apply for these online now. And there's no credit checks or background checks. These are really loose systems that they use for these, and so it won't show up in credit monitoring, but it'll now show up through the ID Shield Plus network. Also, area sex offender. This is a new benefit they've added in as a safety feature. So the address that you put in, you can have them monitor up to between a 1 and a 5 mile radius. It's up to you, and they'll do an initial search and show you the results of that, and then they'll give you updates. Like, for example, this last Saturday, I got an alert in real time that a new one had just registered or moved to the area, the radius that I'm monitoring. Okay, so that's an additional feature. Also, address change verification monitoring. So a growing tactic for ID thieves is diverting people's mail, and we actually just did a presentation to a school district. The superintendent asked me to come and speak in front of over 400 teachers and their welcome back to school meeting, give them an update about identity theft. And we actually had a teacher that came up and said, I'm so glad that you're here, and this is offered here as a benefit. She said, because I just came from another district where it wasn't offered, and she said, and I just found out that someone just diverted my mail, and multiple types of identity theft are already coming to the surface. So of course, she sat up immediately and started telling everybody around her, this is real. You need to get this in place. All right, and then also social media monitoring. So you can link your ID Shield to the 4 major platforms and be notified of any privacy or reputational risks if you'd like to as well. Now, the last piece of monitoring I want to highlight has to do with the dark web, okay, or the dark net. It's really the international black market for selling illegal goods and services worldwide. And if you're not familiar with what the dark web is, it's kind of like almost like an eBay type, Craigslist or eBay type marketplace, right? Where they're logging on, people can log on anonymously, oftentimes paying through Bitcoin. So it's pretty anonymous. There's billions of dollars changing hands. Some of the most valuable goods and services that are sold are actually having to do with American identifying information. So there's an international interest and demand for American identifying information. All right. And so when we get to this part, I think it's good to know that ID Shield has earned the highest information security ratings in the world. All right. And they monitor for not only for more things on the dark web than any other provider, but also are very generous in the amount of monitoring slots that they allow and make available for some things that we may have more than one of. Okay. For example, our social security number, driver's license number, a lot of us just lost that in some of the breaches within the last couple of years, the Equifax breach, maybe the Capital One or some of these medical offices and others. So I don't know about you, but I'd like to know if that ever surfaced on the dark web. Also, email. A lot of us have more than one of these, and this is a big one that I highly, highly recommend you put all your email addresses in here, okay? And if you've ever gotten those emails from someone, I get them daily from people that you know or you work with that their email's obviously been hacked. There's a very high probability that their email and password is part of a database that was just bought on the dark web. All right, and then these hackers and different spammers and fraud rings, they'll take these emails and passwords and then start, sending messages to all your contacts, right? Your personal or professional contacts affiliated with that email account. And then what are they trying to get you to click on? They're trying to get you to click on usually a link or an attachment, right? And then if you clicked on that, what are they probably trying to do? They're probably going to try to steal your identity, right? So not only can this prevent a lot of embarrassment in your personal and professional life, to instantly get notified if your emails and passwords ever up for sale as part of one of those databases. Hey, if you change your password, because then if somebody buys it, then it won't work, right? It won't work for them. They won't be able to hack into your email, all right? But it also helps you prevent you from spreading identity theft unknowingly and unwittingly to the people that you love and care about. Okay, so I highly recommend that one. Also, medical IDs. Okay, some of us have more than one, even medical ID with different pharmacy cards and supplement policies and different things that might be available these days. Investment account numbers, okay, they just added that in. different bank credit card. Also, I think I mentioned usernames are now available. And then passport number, that was included in the Marriott breach, okay, that affected all Marriott members worldwide. So passport's definitely valuable on the black market. And if you have one of those, I highly recommend putting that in there too. Okay. Now we're very proud of the, high octane, industry leading proactive monitoring benefits that the ID Shield has, but that pales in comparison to what we're going to be talking about on this next page, because the biggest difference between the ID Shield and any other product in the marketplace is even if members don't activate their monitoring benefits, they're still covered. Nobody else can say that, right? Any other product out there is based on monitoring, and then the value of that product falls off a cliff after that. That's where this product is the strongest and always has been. Okay. By the way, no other product in the marketplace has any of the pieces that are on this page, and these are the most important pieces to have in place first. No other product has direct access to the right people, which for identity theft and fraud are licensed fraud investigators. Okay, they're salaried, they're in-house, they're paid in advance, they're ready to serve. Also 24/7 emergency access. Okay, so within seconds you're talking to a dispatcher, within a couple minutes talking to an experienced licensed fraud investigator, and they can do some pretty amazing things even after hours. For example, if there's a red flag that true ID theft could be happening, they might want to do what's called a Social Security number skip trace database search and search over 34 billion with a B different records and files, including some government databases they have special clearance as a licensed fraud investigator. And anything they ever uncover that needs to be proven or undone, they can just get a very simple one-page limited power of attorney over to us. We can get it right back to them. And that gives them legal permission to contact any affected third-party company or agency on our behalf. And well over 15,000 of their members have already needed that limited power of attorney benefit with 100% success in member satisfaction rating. And it's all backed now by an unlimited service guarantee, which is not only the biggest, boldest guarantee in the industry. It's been $5 million for the last couple of years, but they just removed the cap. Okay, it's now an unlimited service guarantee because they will do whatever it takes for as long as it takes to get it back to pre-theft status, like it never happened. Okay, they'll do anything the law allows them to do on our behalf, which is really powerful. And they also have the resources and relationships with to escalate this as high as it needs to go to make sure and sometimes put leverage on a company, for example, to do the right thing and remove that fraudulent account is sometimes needed. Okay. All right, and also the family plan now covers children up to age 26. Okay, industry standard on family plans is until 18 for identity theft plans, and the reason why is by law, parents can only monitor their children while they're minors. Okay, once they're adult children, the parents can't monitor the children. Okay, the children would need their own, adult plan at that point to have the full monitoring benefits. But ID Shield is very generously gone above and beyond industry standards and allows parents, if they at least want to keep their children on the full restoration coverage and unlimited restoration guarantee umbrella coverage, they can do that now until age 26 for any dependent children that they have on the plan. All right, so that's an update. But they can monitor until age 18, and they've also increased the amount of minors on the family plan that each parent can activate monitoring for. So when each parent logs in, each parent has up to 10 monitoring slots to activate. Okay, so that should take care of most households, I think, in this country, with each parent having 10 monitoring slots. And they not only make sure there's no credit file each day in that minor's name, but also have expanded it into the national public record searches as well. Okay, and so the amazing thing is the rates that we're used to are still available with a standard ID Shield plan under $10 a month per adult, or a family plan for $24.95. They can also cover not only two spouses but also children up to 26. But there's also now a new option for just $5 more a month for an individual or a family to upgrade the credit monitoring portion of the plan to triple bureau monitoring. Okay, some people want that. Some people don't really care about that. They still have, full coverage otherwise. But market research has shown that there's a good chunk of the population that will gladly pay additional, $5 a month to have that. And just to kind of put that in perspective, say LifeLock with Triple Bureau monitoring is $30 a month for one person, or $60 a month for a couple, plus $6 per month per child. Okay, and I think their plans are even going up to, like, they're raising rates after 12 months to 35 or per person. So, of course, they don't even do all the monitoring the ID Shield does, let alone they don't have any in-house licensed investigators and limited power of attorney restoration in-house, and it's twice or more as much per month. And these are special rates that are just available through the Protect Wealth link, okay, that we're going to put up here as well. And so these are special rates. The regular rates outside of this link are about $3 more per month for any of those plans. And so there's a special link here, protectwealth.com/ID Shield, that will give you access to these special rates. Okay, I don't know how long these rates are going to be in place. They're way underpriced in the marketplace right now, so I would take advantage of them. And also, doing that by Friday, I would do it right away. But if you do it by Friday, we also have a promotion that we've got approved that for anyone that enrolls for an individual plan through this link, or by calling Linda here, the 800 number, we'll get a $10 Amazon gift card, and for each family plan, you'll receive a $20 Amazon gift card in the mail. Okay, and a thank you and a welcome aboard along with that gift card if it's done again by Friday at 5 p.m. And so at this point, Kendall, I think I'm going to check to see if there's any questions that have come in.
Yeah, there's a few that have come in.
Okay.
But I just honestly, Alex, this is so amazing. Thank you so much. I myself and Don personally subscribe to these plans as well. Thankfully, have not had major need for it because obviously I have not had my ID stolen, but I have had multiple uses of it already. Unfortunately, even recently, it happens to anybody. You can be doing everything right and still have your ID stolen for sure. Credit card for me recently actually was compromised, and frankly, I've had to get a new couple credit cards. But this has come in handy multiple times. This is for me personally. And really, it's comforting knowing that it's there, especially like you said, a lot of things here that make it so that you really are confident in the services that are behind it. So honestly, Alex, thank you so much. That's a great deal. I appreciate the offer. Thank you.
Yeah, you bet. And also there may be some people that already have maybe an older version of the ID Shield plan, or might want to update or upgrade their plan to the latest benefits and plan options. And if you have any questions about that, again, you can call Linda, and she can pull up your account and see what the status is, and find out the simplest way. She can help you upgrade even right over the phone, and find out what we need to do to get that submitted the simplest way.
Yeah, pretty incredible. It's interesting because for us, as doing asset protection, we actually run into this quite a bit. Asset protection is something kind of like insurance you want to have. Hopefully not need, but you want to have for sure. And doing asset protection very, very frequently, this is an issue more and more. And this is why we feel it's so important, because all the time, we run into people literally, like you said, Alex, that have had their identities compromised, and they're not able to do a lot of the things that we teach on the asset protection side because their identity has been so compromised that they can't actually set up an LLC or a corporation or start their business, because their identity has been too compromised. They have to work through that first. So it is a big deal. This actually is number one. And so we do run into it more frequently, more than you'd expect, actually. So thanks so much, Alex.
Yeah, you bet. Let's see, Trish.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, great question, Trish. Glad to have you on tonight. Appreciate the interaction. Yes, great question. The licensed investigators are paid for in advance. Okay, so the portion of all the membership dues are paying to have the in-house licensed investigators. Okay, so that is they're paid for, they're salaried, they're in-house, and they're ready to serve on demand. So that is included in through the group buying power, okay, of millions of people that are protected by ID Shield. That all through that group buying power gets us those the licensed investigators. Okay, good question. And Karen, any other, let's see, any information you need? I don't know about slides, but Linda, if you call Linda, just let her know if you need more information, more details. She'd be happy to email over anything you need. Okay. Oh yeah, you bet, Karen.
And so you know, Karen, we can also get your recording of the webinar once that's available. We'll send that to you. All right, let's get some more questions. You seen those coming in okay, Alex?
Yeah, I can. Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, Allison. Yeah, this is just a one-time live webcast tonight. Okay. Yeah, ID Shield is to protect your personal identity. Okay, Gigi, good to have you on. Great question. And so we haven't seen a real big threat yet for entities. There just isn't the return. It's such a gold mine for Social Security numbers right now that the black market is just going gangbusters on all of our, there's over 300 million Social Security numbers that are up for grabs with all these breaches from American, and there's so many different things they can do with those 5 different types of identity theft. So that's the focus right now. As if entity, identity theft starts to become a bigger challenge, then I'm sure ID Shield will come out with something for it. But right now, the focus is protecting Social Security numbers, which is the biggest threat. Okay. Okay. All right, John. Good question. Will this be retroactive and search and find previous use of your identity that are using your ID now? Yes, that's a good question, and that has happened. Okay. The good news is with ID Shield, that's also very unique to the marketplace, is that if something that you aren't aware of yet, it hasn't come to the surface yet, and then you find out about it after you enroll for the ID Shield coverage, they actually very generously cover that, okay, with the restoration guarantee. And so that's the biggest thing, is getting the coverage in place first, and then if you discover something after that, then they will assist with that. Okay. Okay.
That's a good question.
That is. We're getting some really good questions tonight. Okay, Allison had another question.
You ever read this off to you? Okay, Alex?
Okay, yeah, I'm able to. It was kind of a long question.
Sure.
Allison, that might be a good question for Linda. But I'm sorry to hear that's happened, and they are assuming the identity of the deceased sometimes. Okay, and so that's why the ID Shield does monitor even the death records for people that are alive, and that is a challenge. So that's something that I would recommend, that if they enrolled for the service, that they could ask the investigator about that.
Yeah, it's more complex than you think. Even death records. That's amazing. It gets pretty complex, doesn't it?
It does. Yes.
Wow.
Okay. All right. C, what was mentioned about the difference between ID Shield and LifeLock? Okay. Yeah, good question. The biggest difference is, and I can actually pull up a little comparison here. I think I can do that real quick. But the biggest difference is that LifeLock they're basically a website with some monitoring and a call center with customer service reps. They don't do any restoration in-house. Okay, so they do like an insurance policy where if anything ever happens, you have to go through a bunch of paperwork and jump through hoops. And hopefully, if you prove that you were careful enough with your identity and and so on, then you might qualify for the insurance company, to be a claim to hire some mystery third party to maybe restore your identity for you. Okay, versus the ID Shield. It has the in-house licensed investigators that are salaried, paid in advance, ready to serve with the unlimited restoration guarantee through limited power of attorney. Thanks. Hopefully that answers that. But I think I just found that. I'll just pull this up real quick as well. So we do have a side-by-side comparison on file. And so this kind of walks through the exact differences. But that's the big one in a nutshell. Okay.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned Alex. We actually did have a client of ours that had some services that may have been LifeLock. I don't remember exactly, but they had credit monitoring services, and were going to set up a business, and were unable to, and thought they were covered, and found out they were not at all. And yeah, it cost them, I think it was over $12,000 or something like that to get everything figured out legally, so they were back in business. Kind of crazy. We've heard a lot of stories like that. Really, it's pretty scary.
Yes. Let's see. More questions coming in. All right. Love the interaction. Let's see. Neil, okay, for the three bureau features for the extra $5, okay, is there's actually two additional big features. The first one is it expands it to triple bureau monitoring. Okay, so the standard ID Shield monitors TransUnion. Okay, identity theft, again, it's 15% of the problem is credit file related, and a lot of them, they're supposed to share with each other and et cetera. So that's been enough for to be that small part of identity theft protection. But for an additional $5 a month, it expands it out to monitor all three credit bureaus, and give you those instant hard inquiry alerts if somebody tries to open an account. And then also, as kind of a bonus, adds on a $1 million AIG insurance policy. Okay, and that's not anything you should need. Over the last 16 years, ID Shield, no one's needed that because they do that, the restoration on your behalf. You shouldn't have out-of-pocket expenses and things, but all the other companies don't have the restoration, so they have these insurance policies, which are pennies on the dollar anyway, to kind of include them in there. And so ID Shield's like, you know what, just so that box is checked, we're going to, on this triple bureau plan, we're going to include that, just so that if somebody's looking for that to be included, it is, even though they shouldn't need it. Okay, Mark, is ID Shield in Canada the same as the US? All right, it's slightly different, Mark. It's similar in scope, where you have the same licensed investigators with the restoration. I think the kind of the credit bureaus are a little bit different up there, that whole thing. So the databases, everything's a little bit different, but it is similar. Okay, so if you have any questions about that, let us know. But let me just let's see.
It's interesting you
Okay.
still have the service available, though. That's I didn't know that. That's
Yes,
great.
that is, and actually, it's currently available in 4 provinces, including, I know, Ontario and British Columbia, and as of, I think, within the next week or so, October 1st, it's actually going to be available in all provinces. Okay, so there's actually a big Canadian expansion going on, which is pretty exciting. All right.
Wow,
Okay,
that's great.
Allison. Yeah, maybe just have her call Linda, and she could talk to her more about her specific situation. I think
You
that
mind
might
putting
be the most
Linda's
efficient way.
number back up there as well when you
Oh,
get a
yes,
second?
I will. Yes,
And
good
by the
thinking.
way, if you're on here, just a lot of you, that link there, protectwealth.com/ID Shield. Yep, they're live front and center there. That is, if you go to the chat screen and you want to click on that, you can click on that. I just did post that in the chat screen there, by the way.
Okay, John, we'd be able to discover any previous breaches. Yes, you will. And actually, it's kind of cool when you're actually creating your password for when you're logging in to the ID Shield, to put in all your information to be monitored after it's activated. It will actually tell you while you're creating your password whether it's a password that's part of a breach. Okay, so it won't even let you use a password that's known to be out there as part of a breach anytime in history, and I think that's pretty cool.
Wow, that's
Okay.
impressive.
It is. Okay, Trish. Yes, there's monthly credit scores that happen monthly, starting, so that starts kind of while you're a member, that timeline. It's a monthly view. Okay, and they're not paying. They don't want people to have to pay for credit reports in the service because the biggest reason is most people aren't using their 3 free credit reports that we're paying for with our taxes as a citizen of the United States through annualcreditreport.com. But it does remind people. There's a link when you log in that says, hey, if you want to get access to your credit report, go here. Okay. But again, kind of what we talked about earlier, if you were on a little bit earlier, Trish, is that that ID theft is only 15% of ID theft is even detectable in a credit file. So that's kind of been a big business to really sell credit reports and credit scores and things. But it's a little bit more on the cosmetic side versus identity theft and protecting your identity. Okay, so that's why they're able to keep the costs really competitive. Okay, all right, Bill, as far as dark web, all right, the biggest thing is the alerts when something is on the dark web, and then the investigators will have, will advise you on what the best next steps, or what needs to be done, depending on, there's all different scenarios, depending on what information is on the dark web. Again, the biggest thing I've personally gotten alerts so far are those email ones. That's the most common one. It's a big business right now, is hacking people's email and then spamming those phishing links, trying to get people to click on links and put a Trojan virus or keylogger or something on your computer, and then steal your identity and try to take all your information, for example, on your computer. So the fact that you can get that alert proactively, and they are 24/7. I've gotten an alert on a Saturday morning on a holiday weekend that one of my email and passwords was part of a database up for sale, just put up for sale on the dark web. So I got that alert. I immediately knew, okay, it's up for sale. I need to go change my password. So then if somebody ever buys that database, including that they can't use my email and password.
I'll say too, for me, Alex, same thing. I use the service too. So for me, exactly same thing. I've got that notice before, a couple times actually. Dark web. I would almost say if you're on the internet anywhere, no matter what kind of the lengths you go to for protection and making sure you're doing everything exactly right, cleaning your cache, whatever, it doesn't matter. It can still go on the dark web. I'm pretty careful, but I've got notice a couple times, just like you. It happens.
Yes. All right. G, good to have you on. Okay, the use of Social Security numbers and medical applications has become obsolete for some time now. Yes, and they still ask for it usually, and most people just put it down because you're just used to following directions and putting that in there. Okay, what is the value of the medical info contained on patients' medical records to the dark web and hackers? All right. Part of it can be the medical IDs. If somebody has their information and uses, if they want to use their insurance, sometimes that happens, but more often it's just after a breach is just using people's personal information. Okay, so you can have your medical ID monitored for, just in case somebody has that up for sale. That would be good to know, but most often medical related, it's just using our personal information for that treatment. Okay, hopefully that's helpful. Okay, Alvin, great question. Okay, how is your database security better than Equifax or the OPM database, the government system? Seems like putting all excellent. Okay, great question, Alan. And we actually have, first of all, I don't know if you researched of course, the government isn't very efficient with much, but the Equifax breach, that was pretty amazing how they weren't even using basic security protocol. Their whole database was right next to the internet. The only thing keeping anyone from hacking into the entire database of a major credit bureau was the username admin and the password Argentina. So probably a free or very inexpensive password hacking tool could have gotten into that database by anybody within minutes. So they weren't even doing basics. So, and I will say nothing's impossible, right? Nothing's impossible, but ID Shield is probably about the last entity in the world that could be penetrated. And here's actually a security standard sheet, so we'd be happy to get this over to you if you'd like it on file. And they said they didn't even include all the layers of security that they have, but the ones that they did include on this sheet are very, very impressive. Okay. Good question. All right. Okay, Trish said she just enrolled. This is great. Love the coverage. Love the price. Thank you. You're welcome, Trish. Glad to have you on. And we were just always just a phone call away, just reach out to Linda here, and she'd be happy to assist anytime if you have questions now or anytime in the future, rather than calling the somebody that you don't know in the headquarters. You can call directly to Linda's desk and get any questions answered. That's a special for
That's pretty
Protect
nice.
Wealth
Linda's
community.
incredible. That's
She is.
really nice of you, actually. We really like Linda and Alex, actually. So that really is nice of you guys. Thank you.
Yeah, be sure to reach out to Linda too and make sure she has your mailing address so she can get that Amazon gift card out to you, Trish. Okay, John, if your name is sold in the dark web in the past, will this be visible or only current events? Yes, the dark web is in the past as well as the present. Okay, good question. When I first activated, I had like 15 alerts pop up. Okay, Neil. Okay, if you choose to pay annually, the cost is the same. Okay, it's just some people prefer to pay annually, so it's just totally up to you. But it's just basically the monthly times 12. Okay, good question. Okay, Karen, the offer on the Protect Wealth site is with the Amazon card offer is good until Friday at 5. Okay, so that will set to expire Friday at 5.
Good. That's a great offer.
Okay, SR had a question on the application about the legal and small business plan. Okay, those are plans that we didn't talk about today. Those are separate from the ID Shield. So if you have any questions about that, Linda can answer any questions you have about that.
So you don't recommend if any Nigerian emails come your way saying you have $1 million sitting there for you, you don't recommend responding to those, huh?
No, not before calling Linda or calling the ID Shield investigators. And that is nice too, because some of the stuff is really sophisticated these days, Kendall. I don't know if you've seen some of it, but I mean, some of it is really, really sophisticated. And I find myself almost clicking on things sometimes.
It's easy.
And just hearing some of the scams that other people are receiving of all ages. Sometimes you think the older seniors might be the ones that are really targeted or fall for these, but we see cases everybody from millennials, and all the way through the generations that are falling for these very sophisticated scams. So when in doubt, just pause before clicking on anything, and when in doubt, call ID Shield hotline and just run it by them to say, is this safe? Sometimes it is. You just want to make sure. Other times they'll let you know, and it's better to be safe.
Absolutely. We hear about the IRS fraud. The IRS phone calls is one of them. We've had a few people fall victim to that one. And then we also see IRS emails. Because they look like they really do a very slick job, and it looks just like the IRS site. Everything looks very legitimate. Click on here to verify, and it looks so slick. And a lot of times you can tell by reading the actual address of where it's coming from. It's not irs.gov, but still, that's no guarantee because they can mask that. So like you said, it's always better to call, double check first before. If you haven't requested anything, check it first. Absolutely.
Yes, they can mask the email, and they can also mask the caller ID. I think they call it caller ID spoofing, where they can make it look like it's coming from, the police or the IRS or your bank, and it may not be. So.
Just crazy. Wow. It's unfortunately it's part of the world we live in now, but it's nice to have protections like this. I honestly feel very comfortable having it. But thanks for the offer. That's a very generous offer, Alex. Thank you so much. Tell Linda thank you too.
I will.
Well, we appreciate it very much. It looks that's all the questions we have come in. Oh, Trish might have one. Did you see? I recently got a call saying I have an SEC violation complaint against me and to call immediately.
Oh. And those sound serious too. I mean, I've had them saying there was some kind of a investigator calling and you haven't been paying your taxes, and it sounds pretty intense.
Scary. You never know. You don't want to let those pass if they really come in. They know how to get you emotionally, for sure. All right. Well, Alex, again, thank you so much. If any of you on the call, appreciate it so much for being here tonight. To enroll, take part of that offer. It's protectwealth.com/ID Shield. Again, that offer, very generous of you guys. That's through Alex and Linda there, available by through Friday, the 27th at 5 p.m. And that's a gift card, $10 for individuals and $20 for families. That's huge. Alex, really thanks very much for that.
You bet.
If that's all the questions we have tonight, we'll go ahead and close the call. Alex, anything you want to say before we wrap up here?
Just one final thought is not to be paranoid, not to be fearful. Okay, this is concerning stuff, but I mean we just recommend. I mean, unless your finances are really really tight, I highly recommend just getting that coverage in place and just being at peace. And we don't want to. Life is too short to live in fear. Just don't be paranoid, but be vigilant and be in peace and sleep well is all I can say.
I love it. That's what we're all about. Finding peace, your finances, absolutely, especially your ID. There's our things you got to watch out for, but with this kind of protection, it really does help. I'm an absolute believer in that. Thank you so much again, Alex, for your time tonight. Tell Linda thank you. Everyone, especially thank you for being on the call tonight. If you have anything else, please let us know. Give us a call. Always happy to help you. Everyone, thank you and have a great night.
Good night, everyone. Call anytime.